Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to yoga with me. My name's Elle. I'm the founder of Yoga Buzz and going to also be your yoga teacher this morning. We are going to do about a 45-minute gentle yoga practice that will have a big chunk of the end of it be some restorative poses. So my hope is that this is a nice way to start off your Saturday or whenever you might be watching this video. I've got my Precious Moments mug of about this much coffee because that's about all I can handle. And I got water. I've lit some candles to set the mood. I'm ready. Things that you might like to have for this practice, especially for the restorative part, is if you have blocks are great. If you don't, then pillows or blankets, having some extra ones of those around would be great. If you have yoga bolsters, those are of course helpful and you don't need them. I've grabbed my pillow that I sleep with. It's got the pillowcase with yoga poses all over it that my friend Alicia's grandmother made for me a couple years ago, and I love it very much. So we're going to use that. So pillows, blankets, blocks if you have them, any sort of cushions, that'll be great. All right, let's do some of the yoga now. So let's start in a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you this morning. I like to sit up on a little something. I've got like a little cushion here that a friend gave me that is, fun fact, it's also filled with little crystals and stones and dried flower petals from previous yoga teacher training programs that we've done. So this is sort of an amalgamation of all of those experiences. But you can also just fold up a blanket. If you have a little bench, you can sit on that instead, or a chair. But lifting your hips up can help to create a neutral tilt to the pelvis so that you can sit up tall through your spine. So if you find yourself with your knees up and your spine rounded when you sit down, try to sit up on something. And you can go up as high as you need to. All right, so take and rest your hands on your lap. Take a moment to look around your room or your space without judgment, without making a list of anything that needs to be done. I say that for myself more than anything. Notice the light in the room, notice the colors, the shapes. And then take and bring your focus forward and down, somewhere out in front of you. You can keep your gaze steady like this, or start to soften your eyelids, maybe closing your eyes about halfway. Or closing your eyes fully if you feel comfortable doing so. Take a few full breaths here. Just notice how you're feeling this morning. Maybe give yourself a couple shoulder shrugs or let your head tilt from side to side. Any movement that feels nice. And come into stillness again. So for many of us right now, the current state of the world is sort of forcing us to rewrite the way that we do things. Our new normal is setting in. For some of us, it means there's a lot more free time. It means we are having to learn how to slow down. For others of us, we're having to learn how to completely reorganize the way that we work or the way that we take care of our families. For others, we're busier than ever serving our community. So wherever you are in that spectrum of how your life is changed is impacted, note how you can still stay connected with your breath the same way that you always have. By consciously being more aware of the way that your inhales and exhales move through the body. And then bring your thumb to the palm, so cross your thumb over, and then wrap your fingers around your thumb, right? And take and place this gesture with the base of your wrists at the, just as high up on your thighs as you can, so that your elbows even kind of go back a little bit. And this mudra, or this gesture, is said to help encourage the flow of prana, or breath, energy, into the very base of the lungs. So let's use this mudra, this gesture, to take some deep breaths into the base of the lungs. So really let your belly, as you inhale, expand. And exhale, contract, draw the navel in towards the spine. Let's take 4 more breaths like this. Inhale, feel the belly expand. If it's not actually expanding, just imagine it is. And exhale, draw the navel into the spine. 3 more here. Last breath. And let your breath return to its own natural movement. Release your hands. Blink open your eyes if they're closed. And let's come into tabletop, so hands and knees. You know, I said the other day while I was leading a class here that you don't really even need to have a yoga mat to do yoga, and I hold on to that. That is absolutely true. You don't. If you have a towel or a blanket to practice on, just something. Sometimes it's nice to just be like, this is my sacred space. If you have a blanket to put under your knees, you might like that for a little extra cushion. And then take and bring your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. A few rounds of cat and cow here. Inhale the heart forward. Exhale, chin into the chest. Move on your own, move with your breath. Or you can even speed it up a little bit and see how that feels. You can shift your torso from side to side as you move from shape to shape. Just let it be sort of an exploration, a curiosity of how your spine is moving, how it feels. And then come to a neutral spine from here. Take and stretch your left leg out to the side with your left toes pointing forward. And you can take, you don't have to bring it straight up from your hip, you can take it back at an angle a little bit. And then move through your cat and cow pose again. And this time you might notice a stretch across the back of your extended leg. And then keep your left leg extended out. Take your right arm, stretch it out wide, and then thread your right arm behind your left wrist. So again, you might have to make little adjustments so this is sustainable. You can rest onto your forearm or come down onto your shoulder. You can also take and stretch your left arm towards the front of your space. Take another breath here. Press into the palm of the left hand to free your right arm. Place your right hand down, slide your left knee next to the left. Bring your knees out a little wider, big toes touch. Come down onto your forearms. You can stay here like this or slide your hips back towards your heels into child's pose. Take a moment to rest. Take a moment to breathe a little bit more deeply. one more breath here. And then shift yourself up to tabletop. Situate your knees underneath your hips. And now take and stretch your right leg out to the side. Again, at whatever angle is best for the stretch in your leg. It could also go straight back behind you, quite frankly. So right foot goes out, cat and cow here through the spine. Notice how the difference in the shape of the spine creates a different tilt in your pelvis, which subsequently changes any stretch or sensation that you feel through the inner thigh of the extended leg. Come to a neutral spine. Take and stretch the left arm out to the side, and then thread the left arm behind the right, either resting onto the forearm or coming down onto your shoulder, adjusting your extended leg as you need. You can walk your right hand out to the front of your space, so keep it under your shoulder. Take one more breath here. Press into the palm of the right hand. Free the left arm, place the left hand down, come back in through tabletop. And this time walk your hands forward a handprint distance. Press your chest back towards your thighs, but keep your hips over the knees. You can stay here or lift your hips, stretch back to downward facing dog. So downward facing dog is an upside down V shape, feet hip distance or perhaps a little wider apart, hands outer shoulder distance apart. So if you have a mat, take and place your hands so that your pinkies are right at the edge of your mat and see how that feels for you in your shoulders. Take a big inhale here. Then exhale, walk your feet to the front of your mat. Separate your feet mat distance apart, bring a bend to your knees. You can brace your forearms to the tops of your thighs if there's any tenderness in your low back as you get started here. And then as you're ready, release your arms down towards the ground. You can sway from side to side, let your head and neck hang heavy. You can also explore taking and interlacing the hands at the base of the head and letting your elbows rest down towards the earth for a little bit of perhaps traction through the upper spine. Ooh, you know what I haven't done in ages? You can also take your hands and grab onto your hair at the top of your head. Oh man, I haven't done this in years. And then you just sort of use the gravity of your hands moving down towards the earth to just sort of gently pull the hair on your head, and God, that feels good. All right, and then release your hands down towards the earth. Walk your feet a little bit closer together so they're hip distance apart. Walk your hands to the front of your thighs, lift your chest, draw your shoulders back. Inhale here. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift once again. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, this time we'll come all the way up to standing. Take your time in getting there. Extend your arms up overhead. Then slide your hands to heart center with palms pressing. And if you need to then fix your hair because of your forward fold variation there, take a moment here. But whatever you do, take a few breaths, and take a few breaths into your belly, like we did at the very beginning of the practice. Breathing into the belly, this diaphragmatic breath helps to calm and soothe the central nervous system. So if you've been feeling stressed or overwhelmed, belly breaths is scientifically proven to help calm the body and mind. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, release the arms by your sides. Inhale, stretch your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise up to standing, stretch your arms high. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, reach the arms high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. And once more, inhale, rise up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the mat. Take and step your left leg back and lower your left knee to the ground. Take your hands to the top of the right thigh. Lift up through your chest, press your hips forward and down. And let's take a moment here. You can tuck your back toes under or point them back. That's totally up to you. Lift through the chest, draw the shoulders back. Inhale. Exhale, deepen the bend in the front knee, send your hips forward and down. Inhale, squeeze the inner thighs in towards one another to come up. Then exhale, deepen in again. Once more, inhale, lift. Exhale. From here, take and turn your left toes to the right. So you're going to turn open through your torso towards the left side of your space. Take your right forearm to the right thigh, left hand to the hip, and tilt through your torso. And you can stay here or take the left arm up to the sky or bicep by the ear stretched long. So here you're in a little baby extended side angle. Take a big inhale. Then exhale, reach your left fingertips down towards the ground and then back behind you, up overhead, make a big circle. Let's do this twice more. You can even inhale as you lift the arm up and exhale as you take it down. Inhale, lift the arm up overhead, pause, and then reverse your circle. Exhale, reach back first. Inhale, reach up. One more time. This time, come back up, bring both arms parallel to the ground. Gaze out across the right fingertips. Big inhale. Then exhale, take your hands to your hips. Stretch your right leg out long. Turn your right toes towards the long edge of your mat. Then inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, right hand to the right leg. Stretch your left arm up overhead here. Take another breath. On an inhale, come up through the center, palms face the earth. Exhale, left hand comes to the ground or to a block. Right arm goes up overhead for a variation of side plank. Keep pressing out through the right foot. Take a big breath. Then from here, stay with me, walk your hands now to off the long edge of your mat. You can keep your hands underneath your shoulders or come down onto your forearms or walk your hands forward like your upper body's in downward facing dog. And then here you can play with the tilt of the pelvis once again to change the sensation of stretch through the extended leg. So if you point the tailbone up towards the ceiling, that'll feel different than if you point the tailbone down towards the earth. You can even just full on go cat and cow here. So I guess this is where we were earlier, right? Then walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Bend your extended leg, right toes point forward. Walk your hands to the front of the mat. Then one last thing here, take your left hand to the left edge of your space, right hand to the hip. Turn towards your bent knee. Option to take your right arm up towards the sky. Take a big breath here, inhale. Exhale, right hand to the ground. You're going to switch your legs now, so your left leg's in front and your right leg is back. You can step up to do it, you can step back to do it. Just take a moment to switch your legs. So now make sure your left knee is over your left ankle. Take your hands to the top of the left thigh and lift up. Press your hips forward and down. Lengthen up through the crown of the head. And then we'll move with the breath like we did earlier. So inhale, squeeze the inner thighs in towards one another. Shift your hips back. Exhale, press your hips forward and down. Inhale. And exhale. Do this a couple more times with your breath. And then come up through the center. Take your hands to your hips. Spin your right toes now off to the left side of your mat. So I'm going to turn to face away from you, but I think we can deal with that, right? Take your left forearm to your left thigh, right hand to your hip. Tilt your left shoulder towards the left knee, and then you can stay here or take your right hand up or right bicep by the ear. Inhale, lengthen out through the fingertips. And exhale, sweep the right hand down towards the ground and trace a big circle to the back as you inhale with the arm up. Twice more of these circles here. Exhale to reach down. Inhale to reach up. And as the arm comes up overhead again, pause. And exhale, reach back and down. Inhale, reach up. Exhale. One more time. This time come back up through the center. Pause with the arms parallel to the ground. Reach out through the left fingertips. And then take your hands to your hips. Stretch your left leg out long. Left toes point towards the long edge of your mat. Left hand to the left leg. Right arm goes up overhead and stretch. Come back up through the center. Then take your right hand down to a block or a bench or the ground. Right hand down, left hand to the hip or up to the sky. Or you can do it up overhead as well. And then from here, take and walk your hands off the long edge of your mat. I am going to turn around because the internet doesn't need to just see a direct shot of my butt in the air. So just walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Option to walk or come onto your forearms or take your hands out in front of you. And again, play with the tilt in the pelvis. And or explore taking some belly breaths here. And then take and walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Bend your front leg, your extended leg. Point the toes to the front of your mat. And swing that front leg back into tabletop. Rest into your child's pose or child's pose variation. Take a few rounds of breath here. And then from here, take one more breath. Walk your hands under the shoulders. Lift yourself up to seated. And take and swing your legs out in front of you. All right, so moving into our restorative portion of this morning's programming, we're going to do a single leg forward fold. So take and gather up any pillows and blankets that you've got with you. If you've got something to sit up on, I would also encourage you to do that, because since we'll hold this forward fold for a little bit longer than you might typically in a flow class, it might just be good for your body. So let the left knee open out to the side. Now you have options here as far as how you place the left leg. If you have, you can take and stick a blanket or a block under the outside of the left leg to support the hip there. You can keep the heel folded up close towards your hips, or stretch your leg out a little bit longer, or take it out to the side. You can kind of play with the angle of this extended leg. And then or this bent leg rather. Then your extended leg, your right leg here, you can take and roll up a blanket to place underneath the right knee to give yourself a little support there, or more, or not more. So as you then go to the next part of our situation here, take your hands to either side of the right leg, lift up through your chest, take a big breath across your collarbones. And then exhale. You can stay like this if this is best for you and it's already enough of a stretch. You can soften your chin towards your chest. You can walk your hands forward a little bit. You can rest your hands onto blocks or onto the ground. You can rest your forearms onto blocks. You could also take a pillow and build yourself a little platform to rest on. So take a few breaths here. And then relax everything in the body that doesn't need to be working to hold you here. Let this be more passive. And perhaps stay connected to that deep belly breath here. Notice how that changes your experience in this pose. Take a full deep inhale here. And as you exhale, see if you can relax the body just 10% more. Take another deep inhale here, and as you exhale, can you relax the body 5% more? Let's take 6 more deep breaths here in your forward fold. And begin to walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Keep your chin softened in towards your chest. Gently press into your hands as you slowly, slowly, slowly roll up through the spine. Pause for a moment here. Set any props off to the side. And switch legs. So stretch your bent leg out and bend your other leg. Left leg goes out, right leg goes in. I'm going to turn to face the other way, but you just stay exactly as you are. I'll do this just so that you can see what I'm doing for myself. So again, setting yourself up on this side, you can find whatever angle of bending for your right leg you'd like. You can take it towards the inner thigh, down towards the knee, out towards the side. You can take it, wedge something under the outside of the right leg so that your inner thigh isn't clenching to hold it, or if there's any pinching in your outer hip, this just helps to make that nicer. You can roll a blanket up to put behind your left leg as that leg is extended. Then sit tall through the spine to start. Pause for a moment there, make space across the front of your heart. Take an inhale. And then exhale, chin to the chest. And then you choose where you go here for this pose. You can walk the hands forward a smidge. And do it a step by step, like incrementally further into, or more forward into the pose so that you can take care of your body. So you're not forcing yourself into something that's uncomfortable that you can't sustain, right? So again, you can rest your forearms onto blocks or pillows. I guess the blocks aren't really actually doing much for me. Here. And as you take a moment to make yourself, again, sustainable. I like to say sustainable in a yoga pose because if you're not breathing deeply when you're there, wherever you are, then it's not sustainable, right? You're going to have to move because your body's in stress, rather than what we're trying to accomplish in a more restorative, passive pose like this is to invite the body to do less so that the connective tissue can breathe, can stretch, can release. And maybe it's because when we're in forward folds, we think there's the idea of like, I'm trying to touch my toes, I'm trying to go somewhere, I'm trying to prove something. But rather, I suppose we can consider this instead of something to accomplish, something of, I'm just trying to give my body an opportunity to relax in a different shape than it's typically in. And then I sometimes have to actively participate with that relaxing. I have to take a deep breath here, so take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, can you relax 10% more through the body? The body is so anxious to prove that it's working, but there's a lot of muscles that don't need to be engaged for this particular pose. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, can you relax the muscles in the body 5% more? Let's take 3 more breaths here. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Soften your chin towards your chest. Press into your hands to roll up through the spine, lifting your head very last. And pause for a moment here. Then take and set any props off to the side. And we'll set ourselves up for final relaxation. We'll do a twist first, so lay onto your back. Or you know what, hang on, before you lay onto your back, if you have a pillow or a blanket, you can take and roll all of that up to make yourself a bolster. If you have a bolster, obviously, of course, you can use your bolster, but I'm going to assume that not everybody has a bolster at home because they are a very specific thing to have and, quite frankly, very expensive. So it's a pillow with a blanket over it. You're fine. Take and swing your legs up over the top of your support there. And it might, depending on the shape of whatever you've concocted here, you might want to have it behind your knees, or it might feel better to have it underneath your calves instead. So you can kind of explore that there. And then come onto your back. Okay, and then once on your back, take and bend your knees so that your feet rest onto your bolster there. If you're not using a bolster or a pillow or anything at all under your knees, that's fine. Just place your feet onto the ground. Let your knees sway from side to side. And then from here, take and press into your feet gently. Lift your hips just a smidge and scooch them off to the right an inch or two. Then lower your knees now to the left. You can keep your hands on your body or take your arms out wide or rest them up overhead. That's sort of your choice there. Take 4 more breaths here. Really move the breath into your belly if you can. It's more challenging when you're twisting and kind of restricting through the belly. And from here, take and lift your knees. So your feet are on the bolster if you've got one there. Press into the feet, lift your hips, and then scooch them off to this left so they're off center an inch or two. Lower your knees to the right. And again, you can rest your hands on your body or out to your sides or up overhead. Let your breath move into the belly. Take 3 more breaths here. back up through the center. Center your hips on your mat. And then if you'd like, take and stretch your legs out long over your support there. You can rest your hands on your belly or arms out by your sides. You can do palms facing up or palms facing down. If you've got a blanket or something you might like covering up. Something that's nice to have for your final relaxation pose is a washcloth that you can rest over your forehead or over your eyes, depending on what you're comfortable with. So whether you do that now or you save that idea for next time you're here. Let's take 3 breaths into the belly here before we rest. You can even take and rest your hands on your belly if you'd like, to give you a little bit of feedback. So as you inhale, see if you can lift the belly up. Exhale, gently press the hands against the belly as the breath moves from the body. Inhale. You can even take and bring the hands slightly away from the belly. And then exhale, hands to the belly, navel towards the spine. One more, inhale. Exhale. And let your breath move on its own. Close your eyes if you'd like, or let your gaze be soft. And rest. Begin to deepen your breath here. Notice the shift in your awareness that happens when you deepen your breath. If you have the ability and the desire to stay here in your final relaxation, I invite you to do so. Once you're ready to close your practice, bend your knees, place the soles of your feet onto your pillow or onto the ground. Take and stretch either arm up overhead and take your time to roll onto your side and pause for a moment there. Press your hands into the earth to lift yourself up to seated. keep your focus inward even as you rise into your seat. Take and bring the thumb across the palm of your hand and wrap your other fingers around your thumb. Base of the wrists rest at the crease of your hip, right where you're as close to your hip as you can on top of your thighs. And again, this mudra directs energy or prana, breath, into the lower third of the lungs. So take a few breaths here, expanding the belly with the breath, and feeling or imagining the breath moving into the very bottom lobes of your lungs. Take one more breath like that here. And let the breath practice fall away. Release the mudra, release the gesture. Bring your hands to heart center with palms pressing, or stack your hands over your heart, whatever is more meaningful to you today as you end your practice here. Perhaps identify something from your practice today that you'd like to take with you into the day ahead, or into the weekend, or into the weeks to come. Perhaps it's remembering to breathe into your belly a few times a day. Perhaps it's remembering to move your body. Perhaps it's something else. But know that these are tools and resources that you always have access to. Your breath, your awareness. It's just a matter of practicing using them for the greater good of not only yourself, but of the way that we show up in the world. Bow your chin to your chest, celebrating the fact that you made it onto your mat today. Celebrating the fact that we practice together even though we have to stay apart. Thank you very much. So again, I'm Elle. We have been offering these classes on our Facebook page and then transferring them over to our YouTube this last almost 2 weeks now. I think we've got almost 30 classes, 30 practices available for you to visit anytime. And while we're offering these at no cost, we are continuing to compensate all of our fabulous teachers that have been helping to share their knowledge and skill with the world. Yoga takes a lot of time to learn, to process through our own experience so that we can share it with others, and it takes a lot of skill and practice to be able to teach yoga, and then also to learn how to use the technology so that we can share it online. So if you are able, I encourage you to consider making a donation to Yoga Buzz. If you're watching this video here on Facebook, there's a donate button that you can just click there. Or you can go onto our website at yogabuzz.org and make a donation, or buy a t-shirt, or join our membership program, or lots of ways that you can help to support us. We have at this moment on Saturday, March 27th, I think is what today is, we have raised about $2,500 just in this last 2 weeks from generous donations and contributions, and even just $1 makes a big difference, because essentially it costs $1 to share 1 minute of yoga that is free to everybody. So if you can make even $1, it really does make a difference. I feel like I'm doing now a fundraising drive on PBS, but it is because of viewers like you that we're able to do what we're doing here. And we've got lots of things that we've got in talks to share, but that's another story. So thank you so much for doing this. with me today. And thank you to Kababi Bayek for his amazing art, which is upon my shirt, you may have noticed. And I guess that's it for now. Looking forward to seeing y'all again soon. If there's any classes or teachers that you'd like to see us share, feel free to comment or send me an email at elle@yogabuzz.org. We're here to serve. So thanks so much.